Prepare to be transported to a world shrouded in opulence and intrigue. A world where power whispered through gilded halls and desire danced in the shadows. Welcome to the heart of Solomon's Temple, a sanctuary of unparalleled grandeur, a place where divine wisdom intertwined with earthly temptations. But beyond the temple's majestic facade lay a hidden realm of untold secrets, a labyrinth of luxury, unspoken desires, and fiercely guarded power. Solomon, the king revered for his unparalleled wisdom, masterfully governed a vast kingdom, but his true challenge lay in navigating the intricate web of affections and demands of 700 royal wives and 300 concubines, 1,000 women, each vying for his favor, each a world unto herself. How could one man possibly hope to satisfy such a multitude? Imagine the elaborate rituals, the painstaking preparations undertaken by these women for a single, fleeting night with the king. They were immersed in baths infused with the rarest fragrances, their skin caressed with precious oils like myrrh and aloe. Their hair, braided with shimmering strands of pure gold, cascaded down their backs, and their bodies were adorned with jewels designed to bewitch and enchant. The very air thrummed with a palpable energy, heavy with the scent of exotic perfumes, as sacred rituals and mesmerizing dances unfolded each night. But this was far more than mere indulgence and beauty. It was a fierce, unspoken competition, a relentless battle for Solomon's favor, where women vied for power that extended far beyond the royal bedchamber. This vast harem operated under an almost supernatural energy, fueled by ambition, jealousy, and the constant pursuit of influence. But what if the story we know only scratches the surface? What if Solomon's reign was inextricably linked to something far darker, something that defied earthly comprehension? Prepare to uncover secrets that have been concealed for centuries, secrets that whisper of forbidden knowledge and ancient powers. And at the heart of it all lies a shocking revelation. Something Solomon kept under his control with the power of a legendary ring, a ring imbued with forces beyond imagining. What was the true cost of such unmatched power and wisdom? Stay with me and prepare to have everything you thought you knew about the greatest king in history irrevocably transformed. If you dare to delve into the mysteries of Solomon's Temple and unearth secrets that have remained buried for millennia, drop a 707 in the comments below. Let's unravel this captivating story together, a story that reveals the true life within Solomon's Temple and how Solomon managed 1,000 wives. Imagine yourself transported back to the year 957 BC. The sun ascends over Jerusalem, painting a breathtaking scene. There, dominating Mount Moriah, stands a structure unlike any other ever conceived, Solomon's Temple, a marvel of architectural brilliance and divine significance. Solomon's Temple was not merely a building. It was the physical embodiment of faith, strength, and the glory of a kingdom crafted with resources that, in today's world, would be valued at billions of dollars. Its radiant golden walls shimmered under the first rays of sunlight, casting a celestial glow across the land. This was not simply a place of worship. It was a declaration of Solomon's unrivaled power and the divine favor bestowed upon him. For 7 long years, more than 180,000 laborers toiled tirelessly to bring this magnificent vision to life. Massive caravans from distant lands transported Lebanon's finest cedar wood, a gift of unparalleled value from the ancient world. Skilled Phoenician artisans, celebrated for their exceptional craftsmanship, carved every intricate detail of the temple with meticulous precision. Their work so exact it bordered on the divine. The rhythmic clang of hammers and chisels resonated day and night, as enormous stone blocks were painstakingly shaped into works of art, showcasing engineering skills that continue to astound modern minds. The temple's dimensions were imposing: 98 feet long, 33 feet wide, and 49 feet high in the main sanctuary. But it was the interior that rendered visitors speechless. Every surface gleamed with pure gold, as if the very walls were saturated with the light of heaven itself. The overwhelming brilliance of the sacred metal ensured that no eye could find rest, captivated by the relentless shine. At the heart of the Holy of Holies stood colossal cherubim, carved from olive wood and covered in gold. Their wings, spanning wide in solemn protection, created an aura of reverence. The air within this chamber was thick with holiness, an atmosphere so charged with divine presence that it whispered of the divine. The priest's courtyard, a hub of sacred activity, was paved with precious stones, each one whispering stories of distant lands. At the temple's entrance, two towering pillars, Yashin and Boaz, stood proudly, their massive forms symbolizing strength and stability. Adorned with bronze pomegranates and intricate chains, they represented the eternal strength of Solomon's reign. But perhaps the most awe-inspiring element of the temple resided within its sacred heart, the Holy of Holies. This chamber, a perfect cube measuring 10 meters on each side, housed the Ark of the Covenant. Only the high priest was permitted to enter this hallowed space, and only once a year on the Day of Atonement, making it the most sacred place of all. The room was saturated with the scent of incense, mingling with the fresh aroma of cedar, creating an unforgettable sensory experience for anyone allowed near this divine sanctuary. To ensure that this sacred place would function without interruption, Solomon instituted a remarkable system, a rotating cycle of 24 priestly divisions, each taking turns to maintain the temple's sacred duties, from replenishing the showbread each Sabbath to keeping the golden lamps burning day and night. The temple's needs were met with unwavering precision and devotion. But this was only the dawn of Solomon's reign as a spiritual leader. As we venture deeper into Solomon's world, you'll soon discover the secret forces he wielded, forces that transcended mere wisdom. The king, renowned for his supernatural insight, summoned powers to keep dark, demonic entities at bay. But that wasn't the only secret he concealed behind closed doors. The palace itself harbored rituals known only to his 1,000 wives, rituals that concealed the true depth of Solomon's spiritual reach. And beyond that, hidden practices flourished far from the public eye in the very heart of his kingdom. How did Solomon, the wisest king in history, manage to control the supernatural? And what was the cost of wielding such power? Stay with us as we peel back the mysterious and mystical layers of Solomon's reign, where the divine and the occult intertwined, shaping an empire that continues to resonate through history. At the first glimmer of dawn, even before the sun's rays kissed the golden walls of Solomon's temple, a symphony of sound filled the air, each note pulsing with divine purpose. The thunderous clang of the bronze gates reverberated through the sacred halls, signaling the beginning of another day in the temple's sacred service. The Levites, organized into groups with specific tasks, moved with an almost military precision, their devotion and discipline evident in every step. The first act of the day was ritual cleansing, a sacred tradition as essential as the sacrifices themselves. Picture hundreds of servants moving with perfect harmony, Some carried golden jars, each filled with water drawn from the sacred springs, while others swept the courtyards with consecrated brooms, ensuring every corner of the temple was prepared for the holy rituals ahead. The marble floors were so meticulously polished that it was said you could gaze into them and see not just your reflection, but the reflection of your very soul. The purity of the space beneath your feet mirroring the purity of your spirit. As the temple's sacred preparation continued, the temple musicians, trained Levites who had devoted their lives to the art, began to take their positions in the courtyards. Their harps, cymbals, and trumpets filled the morning air with celestial melodies. These were no ordinary tunes. Each song had been selected according to instructions given by King David himself. Each melody was assigned to specific moments throughout the day, evoking a spiritual atmosphere that could be felt beyond the walls of Jerusalem, reaching even the heavens themselves. Meanwhile, in the outer courts, merchants offered animals for sacrifice. But this was no ordinary marketplace. Each animal was carefully inspected by the priests to ensure that only those without blemish would be deemed worthy to be offered to God. Prices were set with careful thought so that even the poorest among the people could participate in the sacred rituals. It was not just a marketplace, it was a place where the divine and the mundane met, where everyone, regardless of their wealth, could draw closer to God. A marvel of ancient engineering was quietly at work behind the scenes, a complex aqueduct system that ensured a constant flow of water to the temple. Water was not just for cleaning. It was essential for purification rituals, a symbol of spiritual renewal. One of the most awe-inspiring features was the immense bronze sea supported by 12 massive bronze oxen. This reservoir of water was a sacred tool for the priests, holding the water needed for purification and various other daily rituals that ensured the temple remained a place of holiness. Before any sacred service could commence, the priests themselves underwent a meticulous purification process. They donned fine linen garments, stored in chambers dedicated solely to this sacred purpose. Each article of clothing was not just a garment, it was a symbol of divine meaning. Its placement in the correct order, carrying with it a deep spiritual significance. The priest's preparations were not merely physical. Each garment was an integral part of their spiritual alignment, a way to sanctify both their body and spirit in preparation for the divine service they were about to undertake. Behind the grand structure of the temple, the bustling activity of a city in itself unfolded. Bakers, specially chosen for their skill and devotion, prepared the showbread in sacred ovens, following an ancient recipe passed down through the generations. The bread, considered a sacred offering, had to be made with the utmost reverence and care. Meanwhile, perfumers, equally devoted, blended the holy incense. The formula for this incense was a closely guarded secret, as closely protected as the temple's own treasures, and it would fill the air with a fragrance so divine it would be said to carry the prayers of the people to God. Each aspect of the temple, from the sacred music to the intricate rituals, was part of a divine system designed to ensure that God's presence remained among the people of Israel. It was a place where the holy and the earthly were intertwined, a space that operated not just on the physical plane, but in the realm of the divine, inviting all who entered to be transformed by its power. As the day unfolded, each sound, each action, each prayer was a part of a greater divine symphony, a reflection of the glory and splendor of Solomon's temple, where God himself was worshipped. and his people, through their devotion, found themselves drawn ever closer to the divine. But behind this sacred order, there were secrets, mysteries within mysteries, that only the most initiated would ever fully comprehend. What rituals, what supernatural forces were at play in this most sacred of places? What was the true cost of such power? The answers, hidden beneath layers of sanctity and divine power, would only be revealed to those who dared to look deeper. In this video, you'll uncover the hidden truth about Solomon's mastery over supernatural forces, using the power of a magical ring that gave him dominion over beings beyond this world. You'll also delve into the forbidden rituals within his palace, the seductive practices that turned the harem into not just a place of pleasure, but a nexus of political power that would shift the course of history forever. What you are about to hear about the greatest monarch of antiquity, King Solomon, will unveil secrets that few have dared to speak of. A tale woven with power, desire, and consequences that continue to echo through the ages. Picture a palace so vast it could comfortably house 1,000 women, each with her own quarters, her own servants, and most importantly, her own rituals. This was no mere collection of royal wives. It was a grand design of power and diplomacy. Solomon's harem was far more than a den of luxury and indulgence. It was a center of political maneuvering, where alliances were formed, treaties were forged, and the fate of entire nations was decided. Among these women, Solomon's royal wives and his 300 concubines served not only as his companions, but as strategic partners, each representing a connection to distant kingdoms. These were alliances formed not from love, but from the very pulse of politics and empire. At the pinnacle of this complex harem, hierarchy sat the daughter of Pharaoh, whose position was the most prestigious of them all. Her palace, an exquisite structure of its own, stood apart, lavishly adorned with Egyptian hieroglyphs and furnished with treasures from the Nile. Her entourage consisted of hundreds of servants, dancers, and musicians from Egypt, all dedicated to maintaining the grandeur of her position. Her garments, crafted from linen so fine it was said to be as transparent as water, signified not only her royal status, but also her unique and unassailable power. As you explore this harem, you'll discover the influence of the other women from distant lands. The princesses of Moab, known for their exotic fragrances and a deep understanding of aromatics, and the women of Sidon, skilled in weaving royal purple, a color reserved for the wealthiest and most powerful. This was a place where culture, tradition, and beauty from all corners of the ancient world converged. Solomon's harem became a living testament to the unity and diversity of his reign, blending the finest traditions and creations from the furthest reaches of his empire. It was not simply a luxury retreat, but a miniature kingdom in its own right, with its own intricate hierarchy and protocol. The royal wives resided in the upper levels of the harem, in luxurious pavilions overlooking perfumed gardens, living lives of opulence and grandeur. Below them, the concubines, though well taken care of, lived in more modest quarters. Even here, in the lower levels, comfort was ensured. Solomon spared no expense when it came to the welfare of his women. Each of the women in the harem held a royal seal, an emblem of power that allowed them to engage in business, maintain correspondence with their homelands, and uphold the alliances of their respective kingdoms. Scribes, appointed to meticulously record the names, lineages, dowries, gifts exchanged, And most importantly, the children born from these unions ensured that nothing went unnoticed in the grand scheme of Solomon's political and dynastic efforts. The administration of the harem was a system so intricate it could rival the workings of an empire. A veritable army of stewards, guards, cooks, musicians, doctors, and midwives supported the daily life of the harem. Everything was done with a precision that reflected the king's exacting standards. The rules strictly followed to maintain order. The routine of life was coordinated by messengers, usually elderly women of great respect, who were trusted to manage communication and relations between the various sectors of the harem. But even within this well-ordered system, Solomon knew that power could be fleeting. To prevent alliances from forming behind his back, no wife could visit another without prior permission. This rule was not merely about maintaining harmony. It was a measure to prevent conspiracies, to keep the potential for dangerous alliances at bay, and to ensure that every decision made in the harem worked in Solomon's favor. Such was the complexity and intrigue of Solomon's world. Nothing was left to chance. What you are about to uncover in this story unveils the most intimate secrets of Solomon's palace, a place where beauty, power, and desire dance together in an eternal celebration. Every night within those walls was a unique and sacred ritual, a constant exchange of love, loyalty, and ambition. Solomon's harem was far more than a place of sensual pleasure. It was the pulse of his kingdom, the center from which the strings of fate were pulled, and a testament to the king's ability to balance wisdom with the complexities of human nature. The rituals for a night with the king began with the first light of dawn. The chosen woman, her identity shrouded in secrecy, was announced in whispers by a messenger. This marked the start of a day-long process, an elaborate ceremony that was both an art and a sacred tradition, one that few would ever witness in its entirety. She was first escorted to the House of Purifications, a building reserved exclusively for this sacred beautification ritual. This space was not merely a chamber, it was a temple in itself, dedicated to preparing the woman for her night with the king. Inside, she would bathe in 7 different pools, each filled with water infused with specific aromatic oils: myrrh, aloe, cassia, and cinnamon, scents that have been passed down through generations of harem guardians. These oils were chosen for their power to cleanse and purify, to prepare both body and spirit for the king's presence. 7 personal handmaidens, each with a task as intricate as the next, attended to her every need. Their delicate hands washed her hair with rare essences, styling it with ivory combs inlaid with precious stones. Her skin was treated with a luxurious blend of honey, goat's milk, and secret oils, a recipe so ancient and sacred it was kept hidden within the inner circles of the palace, protected by centuries of tradition. It was said that those who bathed in these oils would emerge not just physically transformed, but spiritually imbued with an almost divine aura. Her nails, carefully manicured, were painted with henna in intricate symbolic designs. Each design told a story of love, written in an ancient script known only to those who belonged to the palace. These symbols were not merely for beauty. They were a language of seduction, telling tales of desire and devotion that echoed through the corridors of time. The garments chosen for the night were selected with equal care. Fabrics so fine they appeared to have been spun by the hands of gods, dyed with pigments extracted from shells and precious minerals. These were no ordinary clothes. They were works of art crafted to evoke both beauty and power. Each garment held meaning, designed to symbolize the woman's status and allure in the eyes of the king. Jewelry, too, played its part. More than just adornments, each piece was imbued with symbolic meaning, representing both her beauty and the seductive power she wielded. Necklaces, bracelets, and rings, each studded with gems that captured the light in such a way that they seemed to glow with their own inner fire, were carefully placed upon her. As the woman was prepared, the royal chamber was also set with equal precision. Golden censers filled with aromatic incense spread a captivating fragrance throughout the room, its sweet and intoxicating scent filling the air. Flower petals, picked fresh from the palace gardens, were scattered across silk sheets, creating a scene of beauty that was both tranquil and sensual. Small oil lamps, carefully arranged, cast a soft, flickering glow, their light dancing like whispers in the dark, setting the perfect mood for what was to come. In adjoining rooms, musicians, specially trained in the art of love songs, positioned themselves discreetly, ready to play. Their harps and flutes filled the air with gentle melodies, each note inspired by the Song of Songs, the ancient text that was as sweet as honey and filled with the promise of romance and mystery. So, as we've journeyed through the opulent halls and whispered secrets of Solomon's temple, we've uncovered a world far richer and more complex than we might have imagined. It's a story of not just wisdom and power, but also of the intricate dance between the divine and the earthly, of political strategy woven into the very fabric of everyday life, and of the immense responsibility that comes with wielding such influence. Solomon's reign, with its breathtaking temple and strategically constructed harem, really highlights how deeply intertwined power, faith, and human nature can become. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What surprised you most about Solomon's temple and his approach to ruling? Do you have any questions about the hidden rituals, the supernatural powers, or the political landscape of that time? Leave a comment below and let's get a conversation going. I always enjoy reading your insights and perspectives, and if you found this exploration of Solomon's world fascinating, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future dives into history's most captivating mysteries and hidden stories. Until next time, keep exploring.